Welcome to this episode of Island by Film. My name is Wes. Today we're going to be talking about photography zines and specifically how you can make your own photography zine at home. I'm going to be talking about the process of designing, printing, and assembly of your zine, all with a few things you might already have laying around your home. So for me, creating a zine is less about political ideas or subculture, and it's more about taking the image from a screen and putting it onto paper. Now this can be done a number of different ways. You can go to a local print shop and you can make prints. But what I've decided to do is make a very simple zine using readily available materials that you have either in your home or available at an office supply store, and take this zine from design all the way to a finished product. And so in this video, I'm gonna be stepping through that whole process with you. We're gonna be doing all of our design work on the iPad. And then I'm gonna take you through what medium I've chosen to print on. And then additionally as well, we're gonna be going through the entire process of how I assemble these zines. So thanks for joining me. Let's get going. So let's start off first by talking about the design process. Now, this can be done in a number of platforms. I personally am using my iPad as I like to do all of my work on the iPad, from video editing to photo editing and everything in between, because I think it's a very versatile and mobile platform to use. So I'm actually using the Pages software because that's readily available from Apple and completely free. But design process can be done on a number of different platforms. One of the most popular ones is Adobe Publisher, and this is one that I don't have available to me personally on the iPad, so I've chosen, like I said, to use Pages. And so what I've done in Pages is I've done a little bit of a template so that I can do this as a repeatable process. I am printing on 8.5 by 11 paper, and so that template is based on this 8.5 by 11 paper. I'm going to be including in the link below exactly this template so that you can choose to use it yourself as well too. If it's helpful, great. Or you can really use any software at all. But before you get into the software design portion, you need to be able to sort through and select the images that are going to work for your zine specifically. And so I chose to select a series of images that I've shot on my ferry commute back and forth to work, and I'm calling this Zine Commute. This is just a quick breakdown of what the design process can look like. It's by no means a tutorial on how to design a zine. I think it's pretty self-explanatory how this works. So this is that step of designing the zine, and we're gonna now move on to the next step of printing and compiling the zine. Okay, so now that we've talked about the design process, let's talk about some of the tools you might want to use and some of the materials that you could choose to use when creating your at-home self-printed zines. Okay, so let's start right from the left to the right. Some of the important tools that I like to use are, I use a stapler. Obviously, this is to actually bind the zine together at the end of the process right here. Having a good straight edge or a square is really, really good. I like having a bit of a heavier duty one. This helps me make my folds really nice and clean, as you'll see going forward. Use an X-Acto knife here to do any trimming necessary. I've got a Sharpie, just a small roller Sharpie pen. Any pen will really do. Reason I like this one, it's got a really nice smooth edge. It's going to really help me crease my pages nice and cleanly. And I've got a couple of binder clips. Small binder clips are essential here to make sure you get nice, clean, perfect folds on the paper. I'll show you that in a little bit as well too. And this one here is not necessarily an essential feature. When I'm creating a zine, I like to have a bit of a curved corners, and you'll see this as well too. I'll kind of show you how that works. But this isn't essential, but it's kind of nice to have. So you may want to choose to buy this as well when you're making your own handmade photography zines. Okay, let's talk about paper. So I use a paper from Staples, and it's an 80-pound two-sided cover gloss. It's about 22 cents a sheet, basically, for this. And you know, realistically, this two-sided cover gloss here it's nice because it's a bit of a higher quality laser printing paper. Now I've chosen, obviously, as I've already spoken about, to print these on a laser copier because that's what's accessible for me. But if you have a high quality photo printer, obviously that's going to make an even bigger difference in terms of the quality of photos you're going to get out of this. But remember, this is for your own personal use or for the purpose of sharing with others. And this isn't necessarily a commercial option because we know there's plenty of commercial options out there. This one here is purely a at-home type craft. Here's an example of 3 zines that I've made in the past. You can see this one here. I've got kind of a transparent cover here, which is kind of neat. So this is really just an example of what this looks like. I'm going to put these off to the side there. I'm going to bring over the bare printed pages here. First thing I'm going to do, because I want to make sure that things are nice and even all the way around, I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to cut all of my radius corners here. I'm going to pick First, I'm going to pick the small one, take a look at that, see what I think, what I like, if that's going to work for me or not. Yeah, it's a really nice kind of small corner. If you can see it right there, looks pretty good. You could do a bit of more of a dramatic corner, but I think I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to just move along here to the other one, and I'm going to cut each and every one of these pages here so they're prepped and ready to go. Okay, so now that we've gone ahead and we've cut all the corners, the next step that we're going to do is one page at a time. We're going to perfectly crease the center and create a really nice clean crease. And I'm going to show you how I like to do this. So I'm just going to start with this front cover here. I'm going to set aside the rest of these pages in the back there. Just going to move this knife over, move that stuff over there. So what I usually like to do here is I like to actually find a nice clean fold. And I like to actually use these clips to hold that fold in place. Fold that back over there like that. I'm going to do the same over here, being really careful to make sure that the paper is exactly even, because you don't want to wreck this. It's just kind of it's an important step, and I just find that having the clips there really help keep everything nice and tight. I just double check both sides, making sure there's no overlapping so that I have a nice, clean, even fold. And from there, what I like to do is hold this edge here, and I like to actually go right to the center, create a nice clean fold to the center. And I actually like to go from the middle, pardon me, and I like to kind of work my way towards the outer edge, like that on both sides. So a nice clean fold. I still leave these on for the time being, and I like to actually then just use this nice smooth edge. I don't want to mark it up too much, but I want to make sure that I've got a really nice clean fold. Mainly so the book is opening and closing nice and cleanly. You can see right here I've got just a perfect fold now. I'm going to pop these off here. I'm not going to slide them off because I don't want to scratch and damage or crease these edges too much. Just going to fold that there. And there's our first fold there. So that's the opening cover right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this off to the side, and I'm going to do one at a time and complete each page. So set this to the side there. Okay, so now that we have nicely creased edges, we've got corners cut. You'll see right here, I don't know if you can tell in the video, you've got a bit of an overlap edge there. You can see there's maybe a bit of excess paper, because the thickness of the paper, obviously, as you're kind of seating it in these spots here, what ends up inevitably happening is, because they're all 8.5 by 11 sheets and they haven't been trimmed at all, you end up having a bit of excess kind of sticking out from the inner pages. So, I mean, that's not a big deal. You can easily deal with that. That can be trimmed off. That's why I have this here, and I try to use a really nice clean straight edge to clean that off. I'm going to do that in a following step. But my next step is really going to be binding this together. Now, this is a bit challenging here. One of the things that I had found was this stapler that I purchased wasn't quite deep enough to actually get all the way into the center right here. So you can see as I slide it out, see, it doesn't go all the way to the center. So I have to inevitably flip this stapler open. Forgive me there on this. There we go, that's how it works. And then I actually have to staple it from the top and then crease the actual staples in place after the fact. And how I found is the best way to do that, if you find yourself in the same situation as I am, and you want to make sure that you are binding this together, but you don't want to go out and buy a stapler purpose made for this specific kind of deep, although for the depth of this paper, although it would probably be a really nice tool to have, and eventually maybe I'll choose to do that. What I tend to actually do here is use a rubber eraser like this, and what I do is I place it underneath the. Basically, you can see right here, I place it underneath at the exact depth. Then I have something supporting this underneath as I try and bind this together. You kind of do it by feel, and you have to press fairly hard, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the staple to go all the way through into that rubber eraser and stick into there, so that you can bend it cleanly on the other side as you're binding this together. So let's see if I can get this in one try. I know it's been a little bit since I've done this, so I might be slightly off, but you got to try and get it as close as you possibly can. There we go. Not bad, not bad. So you can see now I have this stuck on the inside of this eraser. All I'm going to do is pull that off right there, and I'm just going to use something, a straight edge of some sort, and I'm going to try and fold these down nice and cleanly, and even use my fingers right there. Not bad. Could have been just a little bit better. And like I said, this is kind of a makeshift way of doing this, simply because, you know, I'm trying to bind something together using an alternative tool. Obviously, tools that are built for that right purpose, being able to staple it cleanly like this is probably going to do the best, but this gets the job done. So I'm going to also do that to the top of the paper as well too here. Slide that all the way in. Try this one more time. See if I can get similar results. There we go. That one is actually even better than the other one. So I'm going to pull this out right here. That one was perfect. Just going to slide that in, fold it out right there, fold it down. So it's nice and flat right there. Probably even use this to kind of just try and push them in place even a little bit better right there. So I could go ahead and I could place a staple in the middle again as well too, but you know, for the most part, it doesn't look too bad. And honestly, two staples are going to hold a zine together like this without too much difficulty. So my last step now is going to be trimming the outer edge off. Now I've put a brand new sharp edged blade on my X-Acto knife, so that's really, really key. You want to make sure you're doing this with a sharp edge. That way you are ensuring that, you know, you are cutting things nice and cleanly. And I'm just going to be really careful as I go right to the edge of the cover, because I don't want to cut any of the cover off specifically. And I'm going to try cutting, you know, kind of less is more to begin with. The square actually is really nice too, because I can kind of butt it along the edge, and to make sure that I've got a really nice clean square line all the way across. So let's slide that out there. I'm holding this really securely as I cut it. Just trimming off edges ever so slightly right there. You can see I've got a bunch of fine shreds of paper there. Now you can see I've got my zine is pretty well clean and cut. I've noticed a couple things here. I've noticed the corner on this one isn't quite perfect. So I'm going to actually go through and I'm going to clean up these corners with my corner cutting tool. But essentially this is what the entire process looks like when I'm creating my own handmade zines at home. So this is just a really nice departure from just seeing your photos on a screen. Realistically, this is just a really nice way that you can actually just have something physical in your hands, and the images to me just come alive a little bit more as you're kind of looking through and looking at some of the photographs that you've taken, especially if you're putting together a bit of a series or a project. This is a great way to do a very simple layout without having to break the bank with a ton of expense by getting it professionally printed. So, okay, so that's basically the complete process of it. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope you really are able to take this and do this yourself. Please feel free and leave a comment below. I'd like to know what you think about this video and if you've actually done some zine creation yourself. And once again, thank you for watching Island by Film. My name is Wes. We'll catch you next time.